Hey everyone. Okay, so this is my coming out story. I couldn't really go to sleep until I made this video. I've been thinking about it for several weeks now, and I just finally decided that I needed to, get the story out and get it off my chest. So, here we go. I was born in Kansas, and I moved to Arkansas for a year, and then after that I moved to Oklahoma, and I've been here ever since. It wasn't that there weren't any gay people, it's just there weren't very many, and the few that there were extremely looked down upon. Sad to say that my parents were not necessarily the activists in this group, but they were definitely part of the more involved religious environment. I was raised Baptist from, as long as I can remember. And so for me, coming out wasn't really about me being gay. It was more a religious thing. If you're raised a certain way for 13, 14 years of your life, you're going to believe it. And from the time that I was old enough to remember, homosexuality was a sin. And it was a scary thought, growing up. For the longest time, I didn't tell anybody. I had a plan. Whenever I came out to myself, I had a plan of who I was going to tell. I had a select group of like 5 close friends that I was going to tell first, and then outside of that ring was going to be my, close acquaintances who I associated with on a daily basis in high school, and then after that I was just going to let, everybody figure out, and then way on down the line, after college even, was going to be my parents. And it didn't quite work out like that. In December of my senior year, I started working with this girl, and I don't know why, but I just told her. The reason why I told her was because she went to a school that was at least 15 to 20 miles away from my hometown, and I knew that our towns were separated enough that no one from my high school would find out. It was kind of an experiment, so for me personally, it was a stepping stone. It helped me, become comfortable with saying it out loud, and at the same time it was a blessing because she started introducing me to some of her friends, and her friends knew from the very beginning, and it was a complete relief to not have to tell everybody over and over and over and over again. And I was really thankful for that because I developed this close circle of friends that was completely separate from my home life, but they were just as important to me, and they just accepted me for who I was. And even more so, it's because of my telling her that I was introduced to one of my closest friends that I have here on campus, because otherwise I would have probably one friend. And I didn't tell anybody else, none of my closest friends, until after graduation. And she was okay with it, and I asked her to keep it a secret because I wasn't ready for everybody to know. And of course she did. And then slowly throughout my first semester of college until now, I just slowly started telling people throughout, 1 or 2 month intervals. And I can honestly say that if anybody doesn't take it well, your close friends, then they aren't worth it. You can't try to change them. Then, parents. that's kind of a really rough subject because, like I said, my parents were very religious, and they were extremely, up until a few years ago, they were extremely against homosexuality. Eventually, there was a movie that came out on Lifetime. My mom basically forced me to watch it, and it was called Prayers for Bobby, and I would highly recommend anybody who has a religious family or religious friends who you're having a hard time coming out to them, I would really recommend getting them to watch that movie, because it really helped me. So I just called her and then told her. And she called me back, the next day and said that she's completely fine with it. She told me that she told my dad, and I always knew my dad would be okay with it. It was mostly my mom that I was worried about. But ultimately, though, it's completely changed my life. I have, come out to everybody that I know personally on campus, and they're all just as accepting as the people back home, my close friends that I told, just as accepting as my parents. And it honestly is a great feeling. My best advice, though, is to come out whenever you're ready and come out for yourself. I don't know. My story's still in the process, so I can't really give too much advice, but it honestly is a great feeling.